Okay, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, everyone, once again. Thanks for joining us today for this, I think this is our fifth edition of the Reading Culture Dialogue. We hold it quarterly, and it's an initiative of the Literary Renaissance Foundation, otherwise known as LRF. Literary Renaissance Foundation is an advocacy group that campaigns for the promotion of reading culture in Nigeria, not just in Nigeria alone, but we're looking at sub-Saharan Africa and then the rest of the world, wherever there's an issue of reading culture challenge. And then we also promote mass literacy and we look at issues that affect quality education in the different parts of the world, wherever we are operating from. And we've been having this reading culture dialogue now since last year. And as I said, this is our fifth stream, I believe, where we look at, okay, what are the issues affecting quality education in our country? What are the solutions that can be proffered to solve them? Today's topic, we'll be looking at the issues of ASUU Strike and then the potentials or prospects of tertiary education in Nigeria. ASUU Strike is something that is a phenomenon that all of us have had to grapple with at some point in our academic path. And, it's affected not just some of us, I believe every one of us. So we want to just gather today to look at what are the concerns we have about ASUU Strike. Those of us who have passed through the system, what were the concerns we had then? And those of us who are still presently in school now, what are the concerns that this phenomenon of ASUU Strike it's causing us? And, I need to set the record straight also. We are not here to judge anyone. I mean, this is not a garden for us to judge ASUU or to take side with the government. We are only here to express our concerns as citizens, as people who are directly or indirectly affected with this by this phenomenon. And all of us will probably fall into one or two categories among the stakeholders or constituencies that this issue affects. It's either with students, either we are parents, we are players of labor, we are maybe graduates, or other social actors in the Nigerian ecosystem. And so we are not here to judge ASUU, to judge government, to say, why should they do this? Why should they do that? This is not what this meeting is about. This is supposed to be a concern gathering because we're going to have a follow-up dialogue after this discussion, which should be held in January, where some of the things that we are expressed here are going to now be structured into an issue guide that we'll now use to debate or use to discuss way forward as far as ASUU strikes and the potentials or prospects of tertiary education in Nigeria is concerned. So I said, we are not here to take, this is not a blaming game, it's not a blaming party. It's just for us to come and express our concerns and so that we can take note of them. And then, as I said, the notes will now be collated. And then January, we'll have the follow-up dialogue to this event today. So here today, we have a broad categories of 7 stakeholders or constituencies. And, when you guys are introducing yourself, I expect, you please let us know your name, which of the constituencies you belong to, and then so that, when we're talking, we know where you are talking from. That is so here in our midst tonight or this afternoon or this morning. It's morning where I am, so please forgive me if I'm mixing the time together. We have students, we have graduates who have passed through the Nigerian education system. We have parents, we have academics, and we have agents, government agents or social agents in the community, and we have employers of labor and then other social actors in our midst this morning, this afternoon, this evening. So where you are introducing yourself, please let us know. Okay, there's something I'm missing there. Let's know, introduce yourself, tell us your name, tell us your constituents and where you are calling from, where are you joining us from? Let's know, please, so that we can be able to look at this is where this person is in order. We always do that anyway. And tell us why you are here today. So three things. Please pardon the slide. There's a critical element there missing. Not your name, where you are calling from, your constituents, and why you are here today. So at this point, I will stop sharing the slide so that we can go to introduction. Please, as much as possible, if you can, let's see your face while you're talking. To be fantastic. Otherwise, if you are not able to show your face, we would understand. So please, I don't know if we have a list of people as they're going to talk, or maybe I'll just call you as I'm seeing you on my screen. Okay, Chukuma, thank you, because I was just about to call your name, really. So, and please let us know your name, where you're joining us from, your constituency, and then why are you here today?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Chukuma Olubunmi Adekunle. As touching my constituency, I actually believe I'm a social actor, a social agent at the same time, and an academic. I'm currently based, work, and live in Enugu State, Nigeria. Then why am I here today? I think to contribute my own quota. Over a period of years, I've contributed to sending some of these so-called graduates today to the Nigerian university systems, and some of them have gone outside the country, and their experiences are not the same. So by being here today, I want to actually also get educated on why are we still in these routes? Why is it that after 20, 30 years, we still see something like, if you have a 4-year course in Nigeria, you say 4 plus X, where X is unknown. Why do we still have that? We met that before going to the university, and we are still using the same parlance today. So does it mean that we are not learning? I just want to be part of this forum to actually see what will be the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chukuma, for that very detailed introduction and context that you gave us. Next person looking at is Chinyere. Chinyere, please, can you let us know who you are? And so that let's know your name, where you're joining us from, your constituency, and why are you here today? Chinyere.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chinyere Wokike. I am a student and I stay in Ibadan. So I'm here to listen to what the panelists have to say about this issue.
Thank you very much, Chinyere. A student from the student constituency joining us from Ibadan. Next person I'm looking at is Kikelomo Grace. Please, can we meet you? Kikelomo Grace. Okay, we'll quickly skip Kikelomo and move to Amos Akonde.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm Amos Akonde. I'm joining from Abuja, FCT. And my constituency is I'm a student, I'm public servant as well. So why I'm here this evening is to learn from experiences or opinions of others about reading culture in Nigeria, and what they have in mind or what they feel about the issue that have to do with education in Nigeria, and to also contribute my own little quota to the discussion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Amos, a student and also a social actor joining us from Abuja. Next person is Olashupo Olabisi. Please, let's meet you. Olashupo Olabisi.
Okay, good evening, House.
Good evening.
I believe I'm on now. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you clearly, loud and clearly.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I am Olashupo Olabisi Adegoke Mrs., an academic as well as a parent. I also believe I'll be one of the panelists who would be contributing to the issue at hand this evening.
You're joining us from where, please? From where?
I'm joining from Ibadan.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Olagoke. She's joining us from Ibadan. So we have somebody also from the parent constituency joining us from Ibadan. And it's also an academic. So next person, Abraham Akiyemi. Let's meet you, please.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. My name is Abraham Akiyemi. I'm a student of the University of Ibadan. I'm joining from Ibadan, and I'm here partly because I was invited to be a panelist, but I think more importantly, I'm actually here to hear other people's opinions and, just to discuss the matter at hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abraham, a student from Ibadan, also here as one of our panelists. Next is Olamide. Olamide, can we hear from you, please? Wow, I think I just called the name. The network just computed. Okay, I'm seeing Bobby 007. Can we meet you, please? Bobby 007.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, my name is Bobai Kabumbok. I'm an academic. I lecture with the Kaduna State College of Education. I'm joining from Kaduna State. Sorry, I'm kind of on transit, but I'll soon reach my destination. I just paused for this introduction. My reason for being here is to listen to the panelists and also to lend my voice to the ongoing debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Joining us from Kaduna, an academic, also here as a panelist. Looking Bid Ehiogu, can we hear from you, please?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Bid, and I am joining in. I'm also a volunteer for the LRF, and I also take interest in most of the programs, and I support the organization's goals, and I'm here to listen and lend my voice if I can. And then I also be one of the note takers, just to jot down some of the ideas that some of our opinions and concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bid. Bid is joining us from where, please?
From Ibadan.
From Ibadan, yes, thank you. Bid is joining us from Ibadan. She's one of our note takers for, as I said, it's a concert gathering event. And that means some people will be helping us to take notes. And Bid is one of those who will be helping us to take notes of some of the things that we are discussing, so that we can have a fairly accurate reflection of our deliberation tonight, this morning, or this afternoon. Chioma Eneje, can we meet you, please? your name in case you didn't join when I was telling us the order of introduction. Tell us your name. Tell us where you are joining from, your constituency. Are you a student? Are you a graduate of the Nigerian Tertiary education system? Are you a parent? Are you an employer of labor? Are you a social actor, or are you an agent? And then why are you here today? So Chioma, over to you. You have the mic.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chioma Ineche. I am joining from Lagos State. I am a graduate from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ife State. And I joined the meeting today to learn few things, to take notes, to know more about the culture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chioma, joining us from Lagos State, from the graduates constituency. So that means she's probably has been bumped by ASUU Strike at some point in academic career. The next person we'll be calling is Aisha Alarape. Please pardon me if I'm using first name. It's a very, how do I call it, structured event. So if you prefer us using your maiden name and all, I mean, sorry, your married name, please just let us know and then we'll just stick to that. But for the structure of the dialogue we're having is usually first name. This dialogue, the structure is developed by Americans, by the National Institute Forum of the US under the aegis of Tertiary Foundation. So it's a structured kind of meeting we are having. And as I said, the first world, they have, there's no country without an issue. All of them have issues. But the beauty of life there is that they discuss the issues. They come to the table to look for way forward. But we have issues in our land. Third world countries generally have issues. And we just laugh them away. We joke them away. We just, stoically bear them. And that's why things keep getting worse, because we don't have this kind of structured context where we articulate our concerns and we seek what are the way forward to better them. So I'll be calling Aisha Alarape now to introduce herself to us. And then, if you can show us your video, please, that would be fantastic, so that we can all see see your face. If not, we'll understand and we'll just proceed with that. Aisha Alarape.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I can't put on my video at the moment. I am on transit. But because of my interest in the topic, I decided to make out time for the meeting. Okay. So thank you for this opportunity. Like you said, my name is Aisha Alarape. You can call me Miss Aisha. I'm single. I got to know about this platform from Mr. Barry Linus. So we were colleagues back then in the university. We studied English literature at Ahmad Bello University Zaria. Then I proceeded to obtain a PGD in education, University of Lagos. So I'm currently in Lagos. I am an educator. I am an entrepreneur, and I am interested in the reading culture. I didn't just study literature because I just wanted to go to school. Or should I say, I don't regret studying English literature. So I am very much interested in platforms that have to do with literary renaissance, just like this. And I would like to know more about this foundation and how we can learn and grow together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aisha, for that very detailed context. So we have Aisha being a graduate and also an educator. So she's more or less like wearing three caps now, and also an entrepreneur. So she's a potential, if not a current employer of labor drawn from the Nigerian tertiary education system. So thank you for that. Olamide, can we get to meet you now? And then we'll go to Mary and then Linus, Mary Tagang, before we proceed. Oh, okay, I think we skipped Kikelov earlier. Olamide, please, let's get to meet you. Olamide, can you talk? Otherwise, we'll move to Mary. Please, let's meet you.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Okay,
my name is Barry Tagan. Yes, I'm actually joining live from Kaduna now, not from just this time around. I'm a postgraduate student of literature and English. Very keen on issues that pertains to the Literary Renaissance Foundation. So the topic is as interesting as one could think of. And I wish I brought so many people more than this. I had people that showed interest, but all of a sudden, this today, I think I've dialed up to 10 contacts to ring. Actually, today is Saturday. People will pick, and they're in a very busy place, weddings, other things like that. But I believe we're going to have a great session, all of us that are here. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Linus joining us from Kaduna. That's northern part of Nigeria. I mean, so we have we have from Lagos, we have from the north, Kaduna. I think we have 2 people from Kaduna now. And then we have a number of people from Ibadan joining us from Ibadan. Olamide, can you talk now? Or Mary or Kikelomo Grace? I think those are the 3 people we've not heard from this.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Olamide. I'm joining from Ibadan, and I'm a graduate of Federal University of Nigeria, or a Federal University in Nigeria, rather. And yes, I'm joining to just to learn more. I know that this is an ongoing issue, so it would be good to just hear more about it from different perspectives. So that's why I'm here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olamide, joined from Ibadan, a product of the Nigerian tertiary education system, and then she's a graduate. Kikelomo, can you talk now? Hello, Kikelomo, can we hear from you? Okay, if you can hear from Kikelomo, what about Mary? We have somebody also joining us. Mary, can we hear from you? Okay, Martin Appan, sorry, I mean, it may be a bit abrupt. You just joined us when we're introducing ourselves, and we want to know, I don't know if you can talk, we want to know who you are, where you are joining us from, what constituency you belong to. Constituency could be that you are an undergraduate, a student in Nigeria, presently a graduate, a parent, an employee of labor, a social agent or a social actor, or I mean, I think we have like 6 categories, and maybe an agent, a government agent. Please, if you belong to one of these, let us know. And if you can show us a video, we will appreciate it. If not, we'll be fine. So Martin Akpan, can we hear from you, please? Martin Akpan. Okay, I think we will have to skip Martin, and then, so going back to our slide, I will be shuttling between the slide and then the, I mean, let's look at some background information about the issue of ASUU Strike in Nigeria. And see, between the year 1988, ASUU, by the way, was founded in the year 1978. But 10 years after its formation, between 1988 and the year 2022, but that's like how many years now? ASUU, that's the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities, popularly known as ASUU, embarked on a series of industrial actions at 80 different times. And these times, they span about 1,700 days. That's like 4.5 years out of the 30 32 years of ASUU's existence. We've had strike in like 4.5 years out of 32, and then spanning 1,700 days. ASUU strike has become a parlance in the Nigerian sociopolitical context, with the longest of such industrial action lasting for 9 consecutive months. 9 months. The universities were closed because the lecturers were on strike. I think the second one was 8 months. Sorry, 8 months. Not sorry. Pardon me, please. 8 months, not 9. Not 9 years. 9 months, and then another one was 8 months, where ASUU also were on strike, and then still continue according to the Cable, which is a popular news medium in Nigeria. The Nigeria's allocation to education sector has been below the recommended benchmark for developing nations for several years. Now, because the nation is developing, there's a certain expectation that, okay, because education is the fulcrum of development, that is the springboard on which any development can stand. And so each nation of the world, particularly those in the developing nations category, are expected to budget a certain amount of their annual budget to education. But Nigeria's own has been 8.2% out of 100. And this current year, we have a budget of 1.79 trillion budgeted for education. And that education, that doesn't mean just the tertiary education. It covers all the gamut, all the categories of education, from primary to post-primary, which they call secondary, to colleges, and then to the universities and polytechnics. And so we are talking, we have 1.79 trillion, that's like 8.2% budget of the national budget, allocated to education. And so I think this is one of the issues that ASUU is at loggerhead with the government with, that the the budgetary allocation is small and then can be improved, and then there's a list of ASUU strike over the years from 1988 to year 2022. In 1999, we couldn't get the record for how long they were on strike in 1988 or 1992. But for 1999, it was 5 months. 2001, it was 3 months. 2002, it was 2 weeks. In 2003, as we went on strike for 6 months. In 2005, as we went on strike for 2 weeks. In 2006, as we was on strike for 3 days. In 2007, as we went on strike for 3 months. And in 2008, 1 week strike. In 2009, 4 months. In 2010, 5 months. In 2011, 59 days, that's 2 months. In 2013, 10 years ago, that was 5 months. In 2017, as we went to strike for 1 month. In 2018, as we was on strike for 3 months. In 2020, 3 years ago, as we was on strike for 9 months. And last year, 2022, as we was on strikes for 8 months. So if we total these, the ones that we have a record at 55 months, minus, if we add those 2 other years, 1988 and 1992, we're talking in excess of 1,700 days, or maybe about 60 months that ASUU has been on strike. So here we are here to now start to gather concerns from all of us. As I said, we are not here to judge ASUU, we are not here to castigate the government, but we are here to express our concerns. And then we'll start first by getting our experiences. What, for those of us who have passed through the system, because this period, some of us were probably in school. Some of us are probably, I mean, so all of us have had an experience with ASUU Strike. I'm also, apart from moderating this discussion today, I also wear, I mean, a couple of caps. I have worked in school, I mean, tertiary institutions that I'm the one responsible for their fees and all that. I've been a product of the Nigerian education system, and I'm also an employer of labor, so I know what it's like when the quality of education is not up to, I mean, it reflects on the ultimate quality of your operations and all that. So I'm wearing like a four caps here today. Aisha Alarapi, you have something, you're raising your hand, please. You have the floor, please. Aisha.
Yes, please. Based on your question, are you done? So I don't interrupt you.
Yeah, it's okay. Please go ahead. Your experiences,
Okay.
where or are.
This question is bringing back some memories.
Okay.
The strike in 2013. Back then, I was studying a diploma in civil law at Amabile University Zaria. So I think I was in my second year when we went on strike. And yes, we were always looking forward to school resume. We had to go home. But the beautiful thing is, one way or the other, I had some colleagues that were able to keep studying, and then we were just optimistic that the strike would end soon. So back then, I experienced it, and that was going to be my first time. But luckily for me, all through my 4 years, I don't think there was any other strike. My colleague here, Barry Linus, I don't think there was any other strike while we were studying English literature. Meanwhile, the last one in 2022, I had taken the PGDE course with University of Lagos. So I experienced it for a second time, yes, last year. So I was supposed to have rounded up the PGD in early 2022, yes, but because of the strike, it's extended to this year, and thank God I'm done with the course now. So I think the one of last year was the longest so far.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Aisha, for, I mean, that context. So you were beaten by the ASUU strike, or the serpent of ASUU strike, twice in your academic journey. Does any other person have any experience to share with us with ASUU strike? How many did you witness while you were in school? Linus, please, you have the mic.
Yes, I think maybe Aisha might have skipped one in 2017. Yes, particularly, I could remember the very day that we were supposed to start our final exams. We were all sitting in the hall. We were already given answer booklet. We were waiting for question papers in between August and October. Yeah, also. And then all of a sudden, ASUU members came in. I think we had to go back home for a month before we came back to round up. And then actually we experienced that of 2013, the delayed admission. That strike hits. Sincerely, I still remember that. And currently, I think the one I've experienced is the one that started. Sorry, I'm here right now. It's Felicia that she wants to enter car. So the other one, since when I started this program 2019. Already, School of Postgraduate Studies, internally we're having issues. So after then, the corona came, and then ASUU came. So I'm going over 5 years now for this particular master's program.
Wow. Wow.
So
5 years. Wow. That's something. Wow, 5 years for a master program. Okay, thank you very much, Linus, for sharing with us. Does any other person have anything to share, any experience to share with us ASUU strike?
Hello.
Bobby, please, you have the floor.
Yes, yeah. I think from my undergraduates, I think I have suffered 2 strikes. I lost almost 2 academic years, you know. Then I think I met up with Linus at the University of Jos for a postgraduate program, and he just said it all. So right through my bachelor's to my postgraduate studies, I think I have been a victim of different strikes. So I think I have very good experiences with the strike in the university system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Olagoke, please, let's hear from you.
Yes, good evening once again.
Good evening.
There is this popular cliche in our own time. Luckily, I was at the university with Mr. Babs. So we were colleagues then in UI, 1997 to 2001. We were lucky then that there were strikes then, but then we did not actually lose a whole year. I didn't believe we lost up to a whole session. It was already before we could get admitted, a whole session was cancelled to regulate the calendar then. I believe you could remember, Mr. Babs.
Yeah.
We start for our JAM 1995, but we couldn't begin that session. The 96 session that we are supposed to be admitted flagged off in 1997, actually. I believe February 1997 was when the 1996-97 set got admitted due to re-regulation of the calendar then. But even then, I believe we had 2 instances of a long period of strike, not too long, 1999, 5 months. But then there is this popular cliche among we students that once you are a Nigerian student going to the university, your 4 years should be plus N, 4x plus N. That's the formula. Where S is an infinite integer or something like that. Or is it? Or I have forgotten how they normally put it. But that N can stretch for as long as it takes you to finish due to many factors, out of which the ASUU strike is one of them. Then I was already married before coming into the university. The ASUU strike was a welcome development to somebody like me. Because I remember in 1999, I was heavily pregnant. So when that break came, it was the much needed break. That is a maternity leave for me. Then, but I know to youngsters then, it took off a big chunk of their time, of their productive years. And I pray that we can just get it right in this nation.
Wow.
Just still cycling, coming back to the same spot, even after many years. God help us.
Thank you very much, Ajia, for that context. I mean, it's even interesting that, okay, at least there's a good, somebody still have a good tale to share concerning the strike, because, it just coincided with the time that you needed rest, from after my maternity period. So, the ASUU strike was still, because I remember we lost 5 months in 1999, but even UI had its own internal issue. We had been school had been shut before. I remember that 1999 very, because I didn't even leave campus. I was tired of having to be traveling home because ASUU was, I struck a cake and all that. And so UI, I think that year 1999, they had there was this fee that was being introduced by the school. They started calling it utility fee. I don't know if you remember that. Utility fee. The students protested, did all manners. Those days where it was very, very hot. Utility fees. They said no. Then they changed the name from utility. They changed it to municipal fee. We still said no. And then we still said no. And I think at a point, we somewhat protest. The students even have to go and kidnap the vice chancellor,
then,
and his daughter, I remember very vividly when they brought them to one of the hostels. I don't want to mention names. I don't want to know because mention names. But and they made him to pledge that there won't be any such fees that will be introduced. And no, he said so. I mean, the daughter was shivering, the wife, because it was the middle of the night. They were sleeping when they went to kidnap them right in the lodge. And they said, okay, there won't be anything like that. But after that, I think the school was shut. The school was shut for. So
yes, for a long while. Yeah.
It was already closed before ASUU Strike. Now even so, it was 9 months. 9 months of
9 months exactly. Yes, because I remember by then I came back. My baby was big.
And so even after that, they had to also regularize another session. So there wasn't anything like 1999, 2000. I think we're now talking of 2000,
exactly.
2001. And so, I mean, all of us have been beaten by this. And then the year was supposed to graduate in 2021. In 2001, also 3 times. So we've had our own share of. Any other person willing to share with us their experience with ASUU Strike? Any other person, please?
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Yes, please go ahead.
So, with regards to, okay, thank you, sir. With regards to ASUU Strike, yeah. Well, I thank God for my school because when I entered university 2017, we had a strike, but my school did not partake in the strike. 2018, we had another strike. My school still did not partake in the strike. I think 2019 went well. Then 2020, COVID happened. 2021 came. The strike that affected me was the strike of last year, 2022, the 8-month strike. Because if Corona and strike did not happen, I ought to have finished school 2021, but I finished this year. So it's really not a good thing to happen to us because the government back and front negotiation, when you're hoping that they'll call it off and they'll be like, oh, indefinite strike, or when you're hoping that you hear good news and the next thing you're not hearing anything positive, is really not a great experience. It's really not a great experience, and we keep praying for our country that God will help us and help our leaders too. So yeah, that is it. Thank you.
Which school did you, university?
I finished from Obafemi Awolowo University, Osun State.
Okay, thank you. Because it's Unilag that weren't participating then, so this is the director of that school. See, well, because OAH usually have their own issue.
Yes. I think because of our vice chancellor, the vice chancellor we had was really big on us not joining strike. So when they changed him, everything changed.
Wow.
So yeah, that was it.
For that insight. Amos, you are raising your hand. You want to share your experience with ASUU Strike with us?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you, sir. During my undergraduate, I didn't have any experience of ASUU Strike. I finished the University of Ilorin, and then Ilorin ASUU was not part of the national ASUU. So anything strike, we don't go. So I didn't have any experience. But when I went for my postgraduate program in Nasarawa State, I started my MSc in the year 2016, and I could not finish until 2021. That's 5 years for me to finish my MSc because of the ASUU strike. And immediately in September 2021, I started my terminal degree. Shortly before we started our exam, first semester exam, the strike started. That's 2022, which lasted for 8 months, as we said. In fact, forgetting what we learned. Because of that. And some of my colleagues are even saying, oh, boss, it's like I will just back out from this program. I'm tired. I'm at home for 6-7 months. I have other things to go to do. Because of that strike now, we could not finish our exam on time. We could not finish our coursework on time. So now we are still battling with TCs here and there. So it's not a whole thing, particularly my MSc period, 6 years instead of 3 or 4 years program. So wow. That was the experience I had as regards ASUU Strike during my MSc program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Amos, for that. Does anybody else want to share with us, please?
Yes,
please go ahead.
Now, speaking from the viewpoint of a parent now, I would say the issue of ASUU Strike is now getting to a very high point of, concern, even beyond concern. Is beginning to give us jitters as parents. No Nigerian parent is very comfortable having children in public universities now. That's why there is upsurge of students in all these private universities, because there are 4 years, 4 years. Uniloring, as the last speaker mentioned, was one of such before, and this gave rise to upsurge of studentship in Uniloring. I think currently they are the public university with the highest number of students, 40,000 plus students. 45, yeah. I have a graduate of Uniloring here. In fact, we fell in love with Uniloring for that, being always on time. Your 4 years is your 4 years. That I have 4 of my children attending Uniloring. So one is already graduate, one already graduated. I still have 3 there right now as we speak. Wow. But unfortunately, this trend was jinxed. I think in 2020, after the corona, whatever, just for us to wake up to the news that Uniloring had joined the bandwagons of ASUU strikers. And unfortunately, that 2022 strike of 8 months, the house was full, to my consternation, and you know what that means? Food. Yeah. They will eat normal food. They will snack on everything snackable in the home. It wasn't. It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. So now, my 3 children in Uniloring had lost a whole year. So the one in the final year now is supposed to have graduated, just having a final year. And the one in 500 level with a 6 years course tenure is just entering 500 level. That's for those in Uniloring. I have a son in UI as we speak. He entered UI 2017 for a 5-year course, environmental health sciences, for a 5-year course. 2017 to now, I think that is 6 years already, if I'm not mistaken. And my son is just entering his final year as we speak. So this is a young adult that is supposed to, the dream of every parent and a young adult is to have a smooth sail of career to time. Most importantly, to meet up with market requirements, workforce requirements. There's always this age bracket of employable, and all these are all the ratios effect of ASUU Strike. My son is now a big man of 25 years in school, still in school, battling to get first degree. Yeah. These are the issues at hand.
Thank you very much, Ajia, for
that's giving everybody serious ache.
Thank you for that very profound insight. I mean, you can see the pains of parents. I mean, from students' perspective, or even parents, the pains of having their children at home. And another experience that I also have to share about that is that, okay, in the West, they usually have an early start to life than those of us in developing countries. And that's why there's so much disparities in terms of development. Maybe by age 21, 22, I mean, an average student in the West would have completed the university education. But that is probably when those in the developing countries just about started. So you can imagine the disparity already. You're talking about like 5 years, at times even 10 years gap. So the person that started working on time will start raising a family on time, will have children. I mean, it can easily plan for their life. But those who keep having this hiccup here and there, it's stabilizing. For parents, that means you have to continue to, I mean, you are nurturing, you are sponsoring somebody that should be sponsoring drugs or even be contributing to your own welfare because that's an African system. So, I mean, the pains of the parents are palpable and where ASUU Strike is concerned. Thank you, everyone, for this very rich discussion about the experiences we've had with ASUU Strike. So we'll proceed to the second question. We have 3 questions we are asking ourselves today. And the second question goes, what were your concerns then? Personal concerns or are they present concerns? And what bothers you now about ASUU Strike? Do you have, when you were students, did you have concerns ASUU Strike, or as of now, what are your worries about ASUU Strike, and why do this matter to you? Why are these concerns? Why are they so important? Anybody willing to start up with us? What were your concerns, or what are your concerns now, and why do these bother you? Bobby, please, you have the floor. Go ahead and talk.
Okay. Hi, everyone, once more. It has been a very wonderful interaction so far.
Bobby, please, sorry, permit me to interrupt you a bit. Please,
Okay.
for the questions, maybe one of our note takers, can you be helping us to type them and drop them in the chat so that everybody can see the questions that they are responding to? Thank you. Please, Bobby, okay, over to you now. Please
okay.
Continue.
Well, my concerns back then, or what bothers me, what bothered me back then when I was a student, facing or experiencing this ASUU strike was I was being delayed to finish school, to go out to the wider world and get a nice paying job. That was all my worry. And as one of the parents and who is here with us said, my parents too were worried. They just wanted to get done training me and let me fly. So that was my concern then. But having graduated, and I am now working in a tertiary institution, though not a university. I work with the College of Education. But all these problems cut across all tertiary institutions, whether the Polytechnic, Monotechnic, College of Education, or the university. These are problems that ASUU are fighting. I now have a clearer view. That's where I'm coming from. I now have a clearer view. I now understand clearly what ASUU is fighting for, because I am an academic.
Yeah.
I am part of the struggle now, and these are some of the things I will highlight them as I proceed. You see, the truth is that some of these lecturers to have their awards in these tertiary institutions we're talking about. So sometimes when people just say, the lecturers are insensitive, the university lecturers are not humane. Sorry, they have words too in these universities. So are they trying to be wicked to themselves by stopping their awards from graduating? No. But these things they are fighting for, they may not even benefit from it now. It's for posterity. Someday they will leave the university system, and students they are grooming and training will be the ones to take over. So, and one of the things they are fighting for is poor remuneration. If you go outside the shores of this country, even within Africa, you see that lecturers, even secondary school teachers, are handsomely remunerated. But in our own system, it is not the case. You see someone that has put in the job, has, read through his bachelor's, through his master's, through his PhD. He's been given stipends, and he has dependents. He has his immediate family to cater for, his extended family, and people in his community. For instance, a professor. Everybody believes, a professor should have money. So, and in the academic system, before you move to any level, you have to publish. You have to write articles, publish them. You have to write textbooks and publish them. And these things cost money. They are very expensive to do, especially in our systems. And we don't have, it's just TED fund that sometimes comes in to intervene by giving, some funds for conferences. And even these, they are just minor interventions. So these people are humans too. And so the remuneration is so poor that it is not encouraging at all. So that's one. Then another thing, the facilities, the university facilities. I think ASUU, let's give it to them. They have not even focused on their take-home pay. What they are fighting for at the moment, if you look at all through, are the facilities, the university facilities. And they are not the only ones using these facilities. The students too are beneficiaries of these facilities. We're supposed to have internet on our campuses, but they are not. Either they put some, and for a number of years they run and it is out. Then when you go to our classrooms, there are no public address systems. The classes are not conducive. When you go to our hostels, God, an eyesore. So you see, all these things, ASUU are trying to fight all these things to make the system better. So me right now being part of the system, I understand clearly. I now understand and agree with what ASUU is fighting for. So honestly, there are a lot of issues. And another thing is the politicians, or let me just use an umbrella term, the government now. The government is guilty of all these things. You see a university professor that has put in this number of years, all his life, sweating and earning these degrees just to impact upon the youths of this country. Then a politician who just finished secondary school with questionable certificates, will come up, become a senator, become a president, become a governor, and decide our collective destinies. You see, it's painful. So when you talk about education to these people, they don't understand because they are not, they have not gone through the rigor of studies. So they are after amassing wealth and then going back to their constituents to just give peanuts and enjoy their lives. So when ASUU is fighting, I strongly want to encourage us. Sometimes let's try to understand with them. I'm not saying ASUU is perfect. There are sometimes they get it wrong. But the truth of the matter is, we should tax our politicians. We all have senators, House of Rep members. Anytime there is an ASUU strike, we should call on them. We should harass those people to take decisions that will push the federal executive, the executive arm of government to take positive steps towards enhancing our educational sector. Because the truth is that sometimes we just leave the lecturers to suffer, and once they have suffered, once it is enough, once they are fed up, they just have to call off the strike. Like I think the last strike, they have not been paid their 8 months salaries. Yes, and some of them are still languishing there. So you can see that we are all stakeholders in this.
Yeah.
We are all stakeholders in this, and I want students to take it upon themselves. Okay, ASUU, we have student unions. When student unions, dialogue with ASUU, when there's a strike like this, student union can go dialogue with the ASUU officials. What are some of these concerns? Then they can issue out a press release in support of ASUU too, or they can call on the government to listen, and parents also too should I'm telling you, if we pressure our politicians, especially anytime there's an ASUU strike, and we pressure them and we harass them, you see they can push the executive arm of government to make the right decisions.
Thank you very much.
So I think I'll pause now so that
you want to also listen to other people as well. Thank you so much. It's obvious that this is an issue that really, really got you. I know it reflects in your voice, it reflects in your passion, in articulating your views about it. But we have to also listen to other people. So thank you so much for those very brilliant points you made. Across not just leaving the lecturers, across different strata. As far as ASUU strike and then the Nigerian education system, and then the players, the stakeholders themselves are concerned. We'll listen to Bat Apa. Please introduce yourself. Let us know where you are joining us from. Let us know what constituency you belong to. Are you a student? Are you of the Nigerian education system? Are you an employer of labor of Nigerian graduates? Are you a parent? Are you an agent? Let's know you. Then you can now articulate your points. But Apa.
Thank you very much, sir. And then I must once again appreciate the direction of argument, especially as it relates to the matters at hand. My name is Bat Apa. I'm a writer, a poet. At least I can say I'm a stakeholder in the education industry because I'm a lecturer. I'm currently calling or making my contribution from Liberia. I can see how the last speaker passionately spoke about the dire conditions of issues affecting the education sector, especially as it relates to ASUU perennial strike in Nigeria. You say it's something that is very, very worrisome. I would say I have a very peculiar experience. I have lectured in the University of Ibadan for close to a decade as a teaching tutorial assistant for a number of years, and ASUU strike is more or less like an anthem, to us. So I witnessed it not just as a student, but also as a faculty. And it worries me much because after graduation, I was lucky to secure a lecturing job in one of the private universities, despite the fact that I had applied to a number of federal institutions. And then luckily for me, I was shortlisted and invited for a few interviews. It was around that time that I also applied as a lecturer here in one of the state universities in Liberia. Luckily for me, I got the offer, so I had to leave. So when I left, I at some point, I was also planning to come back home because my wife was in Nigeria, and I was like, I can't leave her in Nigeria while I'm in Liberia, and then I am not also too comfortable having my children raised here in Liberia because of the the standard of education, since we are not resident in the city. So it was around that time that I got invited for an interview at Federal University, Lokoja. I went for the interview, and I was offered a lecturing job. I was so happy, and I went to meet the head of department. But there was something that struck me so shocking, because almost everybody was asking me that, this man, are you okay? You left Liberia, you want to come back to Nigeria. And some of them, having seen my appointment letter, the amount that I earn here. So when I eventually got my appointment letter, I was like, what is this? Am I moving from so almost everybody, my colleagues then were like, this guy, are you okay? I hope nothing is wrong with you. But then I had this passionate nationalistic drive to come back home and then see how I can build my life. But unfortunately, so lamentable, it was around that time that ASUU was on strike. So I was like, I waited and I was like, okay, I can't come back and resume when almost nothing is happening here. But fortunately for me, my wife was able to secure scholarship abroad to study in the States. So that was what nailed that dream. So I couldn't go back to Nigeria. But the thing here is this. You see, the ASUU strike is not just affecting the students. It is affecting virtually everybody, because in a situation where the quality of education received by the students is below standard, it's going to reflect where those students work at the end of the day. And I must also tell you at this moment that a lot of lecturers are leaving Nigerian academic sector in droves. I just had interaction with a senior colleague of mine in OAU just yesterday, and it was like almost everybody is just moving. When I interacted with my colleagues at the Department of English UI, it's the same story. So I keep asking myself, because it's like the best hands are leaving the system. So who are those remaining? So it's affecting everybody. And unfortunately, the deterioration of this standard is caused by the insensitivity of our leaders. I mean, most times you see them appointing people who know near to nothing as far as education is concerned. And people like that have been appointed as Minister of Education and water. In fact, the last Minister of Education later confessed that he knew nothing about education. He was just there. So you can see how unpalatable the situation is. So you have the issue of brain drain, the poor remuneration of those saddled with the responsibility of molding lives and building the nation through capacity building and then knowledge impartation. So these are issues that I believe, I seriously pray that this current administration would have to look inward, particularly, in the education sector, to see how things can improve. Because if it continues to go this way, it's not going to help the country. It's not going to help the country. When I look at the university ranking in Nigeria, I just keep asking myself, why on earth will a university of Ibadan, be dropping in rank? So you can see gradually Covenant is taking over. And I wonder what would happen in the next few years to come. But here you find universities in Ghana, university in South Africa, Egypt, improving on their ranking scale, whereas our own situation is getting worse. So it's not helping us, and it's not speaking well of graduates from Nigerian universities, because sometimes these things have consequences, especially when you go abroad for further studies, and then questions are asked: where did you graduate from? Which country are you coming from? And these things are measured by the quality of education received there. Well, I will not conclude by not also, even though ASUU has every right, because we all agree that, yes, the government has not been responsive as they should, but the truth of it is that let us also look inward and see how far did they manage the resources generated from the university. The resources, student pays, tuition fee, they pay all manner of fees from department or faculty and what have you. They generate a lot of money. So what happens at the end of the day? How well did they deploy these resources? How accountable, did they actually judiciously, expend this money? I'm sure it was all over the news the other time when a UI bossa was, confessing something superstitious happening to him as regards the account of the university and all that. I mean, yes, we blame the government, but the little resources that we have, how do we manage it? How do we manage it? The grants that we win, we bring to the university, how do we manage it? So in as much as we crucify the government, yes, we must also look inward to see where we have our own faults. So in addressing matters relating to ASUU, I think all hands must be on deck, and every stakeholder that is concerned must ensure that the right thing is done to remedy the situation.
Thank you so much for that very lucid points. I mean, you raised about the issue of ranking, how it affects Nigerian students or Nigerian graduates at international rising, and then also the management of even the resources the universities themselves, the polytechnics are generating from enrollment. How are they being managed? And I also like the fact that, okay, you give us this, giving us a perspective from you being in Liberia, having to decline a job in Nigeria, having to even leave Nigeria to go to Liberia in the first place. And, thank you very much, but Afra, for those very lovely information you gave us and sharing your experience. We hear from Mrs. Olagoke. Please, you have the floor, ma'am. Please.
The last speaker had really covered a lot of grounds, the true issues at hand. But what bothers me, and what should bother all the stakeholders in this matter, is how the incessant ASUU strike had been affecting all the stakeholders. For the students, I believe they are most concerned with their timing, that their time is being wasted. And, for the lecturers, poor remuneration, salary, and the working conditions, and of course the infrastructures, because of late I could see that they tend towards raising claims for infrastructures, bettering the infrastructures of the schools. From the parents' viewpoint, their major concern is the success of their children, successful completion of their education, and being somebody in life, because that's what we believe in this climb. Going to school is sure key to success. That's our own fundamental belief. Though we are getting to see that in modern times, academics is not an automatic key to success. It can't equate success. It's an error we've been making. Then how does this bother the society at large? And this is where the overall effects will reflect. According to the last speaker, these students that have been, whose tenure in the university have been interrupted and have not been given the due diligence and all the proper requisites and knowledge they are supposed to get within a stipulated amount of time and are being turned into the labor market, what quality are they taking out of the Nigerian universities? So now, addressing this one after the other, we all have our own blames. On the part of the government, as the last speaker said, it is no gainsaying the fact that education had never been given a priority in Nigeria. And the reason being that, according to the last speaker, majority of the game players are not well educated themselves. And this trend will only be resolved if quality hands are engaging in Nigerian politics. And I think we are getting there gradually. Because I can say of some lecturers, one or two that I know that are now very, very involved, actively involved in politics. So, but it's one thing to even get them involved. It's another thing to be swayed by societal pressure. Nigerian society of today tends towards materialistic tendencies a lot. You are judged according to your standard of living. Of course, the obvious wealth you can show. It even got to a time that ASUU could be said to be a parallel government in Nigeria to the Nigerian government. It got to a time that the fear of ASUU is even higher than that of the government, because once ASUU says they are going on strike, they are going. And there's nothing the government will say that will sway them coming back. Not until, I think, was it the Buhari's dispensation, or was it before that the policy of no work, no pay was introduced. In those days, no matter the month, once they come back, the backlog of their salaries will be paid. It got to a point that we, parents and society at large, we started beefing us with that. Anyways, why would they go on strike once they know that when they come back, their salaries will be paid? But then, our dominion was like that because there was practically nothing to show for these so-called strikes. 3 months strike, they come back, same old story. The next maybe 6 months, another strike, come back, same old story. So when are we really going to change the narratives? Or when will the strikes begin to yield the desired results? I think these are the stuffs that should be bothering all stakeholders. Thank God, I think as the ASUU has evolved to not being self-centered now, because going through their demands, I could say 90% of their demands now borders on having standard university education, standard infrastructures, not just theoretical dishing out of concepts to students and turning them out without any practical know-how. I could remember in our days, there was a day I borrowed courses in linguistics. Then there was a day I stumbled, we were having a class in what was supposed to be a language lab, if you could remember then. First lesson we'll be having there, seeing all these gadgets that were that looked from another century, another millennium, old, haggard-looking gadgets, and they are not even functioning. Nobody. It was there and then that we got to learn that as language students, we are supposed to have practical classes to train our voice modulation, our accents, and all these things. And I don't even think, yes, I can boldly say that throughout our 4 years as students, we never had one day practical class in a language lab. It was as bad as that. And we were churned into the market just like that. If it's now left onto you as the individual to develop and improve yourself upon getting to the market and seeing that you have been shortchanged. So what should really bother us and what should be our concern? It has been the basic concern, and it will continue to be our basic concern if we are not getting it yet. Incessant ASUU strike, what has it contributed to the students' lives, the lecturers, infrastructures of schools, parents, and the society at large? Thank you.
I mean, that's another, you give us like another cross-dimensional perspective to this issue. I mean, parents have their own concerns. The schools, I mean, even looking at what are the infrastructures, just like you said, I mean, because it's a big, big issue in the quality of the graduates that our education system that we can. And you know, so if you don't teach them with the right materials, with the right infrastructure, how do we expect that they will be top notch, or they will be able to even compete? I mean, at the international level, I mean, when you even compete with those who graduate from private schools, and these are very fundamental issues that ASUU has been fighting for. And even though we are not saying ASUU themselves don't have, I mean, their own issues, but you know, the thing remains that truth must be told, and what should be done must be done. Thank you for that very detailed analysis of the issue. Chukuma, you were raising your hand earlier. Do you still want to say something? Please.
Yes, sir. I do, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you everyone for this opportunity. I won't waste time since a lot has been said and a lot of grounds have been covered. Let me start with this. As a teacher, I've observed that recently, a lot of the young ones actually have a slogan, and the slogan is going viral. And then when you try to counsel or to advise young people, you will hear that education has scam. Education has scam. Now, it is so bad that it is making the works of teachers, the works of lecturers, is making their work so difficult because the rot is now trickling down to the point where even students don't see the value in education. So no matter what we are saying, at the end of it is coming to the point where the value that some of us even thought will go to university to get, they are not saying it. So they are not even seeing any reason why they should even go to school. And when they even go to school, the rate of examination malpractice now is on the increase. It's on the and people do anything to make sure that they pass. They will tell you, uncle, the person, in fact, it was about 2 weeks ago, I read a little piece of analogy on one of the social media platforms that those people that had first class, where are they today? Those people that had 2-1, where are they today? That it's those people that had 2-2, that had third class, are they not the ones actually taking decision on behalf of those that had first class? Please, can you understand that? It's becoming so bad that you even begin to question yourself, why did I even go to school in the first place? That is the first thing. The second thing is, all over Nigeria now, in different areas of our economy, we are having problems. Go to the banks. The same complaints you lodged about 5 years ago and that we're taking care of, go now, the people there don't even know what you are talking about. They can't handle them because they don't, the system has actually put them in something they are not versed in. And it is almost the same everywhere. Now, another thing is the quality of skills churned out. A lot of the panelists have actually mentioned something like that. I had the privilege of being a secretary to a panel that wanted to employ lecturers in an A-level school in Enugu State. And this young lady who was already married came for the interview, and she was asked 20 questions. 20 questions. I'm not good at mathematics, but being the secretary, I took notes. Out of the 20 questions, she managed to answer one herself. And I should say, she has a first class in mathematics.
Wow.
In one of the reputable universities in the Southeast. I won't mention the name of the school. If you are talking about top 2 schools in Southeast, this school should be part of the discussion. Now, out of the 20 questions she was asked, she was able to answer one by herself. Members of the panel assisted her to answer 4, and she failed 15 outrightly.
Wow.
Now, when she left, Professor Ademiluyi, who happened to be the owner of the school, had to tell us, can we see what actually is happening? And it turned out that, let me not go into that. Another thing, sir, is if we actually look at financially, we are doing ourselves a disservice if our university systems are not working. We are doing ourselves a great disservice. Just this week, I read the reports in Australia. Australia is now trying, the government is now trying to tax universities from the income they generate from foreign students.
Wow.
And out of the 33 universities they were targeting, 3 agreed to pay, 30 opted out. And the 3 that agreed to pay, actually, the report stated that if the money they pay is taken into consideration, that the government may make as much as $10 billion. I'm not good with money. I can't tell you this is what it amounts to in Naira, but $10 billion by 3 universities from foreign students. Now, if Nigerians are part of that number, if the money they are taking out, if this money is actually retained in the country, what will it not add to us? We are talking about infrastructure, we are talking about facilities, we are talking about this and that. This, sir, is my own contribution. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for that also very profound analysis of the issue that, I mean, the Nigerian tertiary education is facing. I mean, this insight about, tasking, and because it's the truth. I mean, most of these Western countries, one of the major earnings really is from foreign international students, because, we move to the country, we have to pay fees. We have to pay school fees. I mean, for you to even, to be in the school. And if you don't pay the school fee, you will participate. And if you don't participate, if you are not enrolled, your visa will be revoked, and then you'll be sent back to your country. So we see that foreign students have to just pay. And then when we pay, we don't even think of coming back to our country to come and put those things we've learned to use. Because, just like Bart was telling us, imagine what will you be offered? What will you be getting in return for your investment? So you will rather also now stay in those Western countries and still be part of the economic drivers, part of the development drivers. And so we are losing across different fronts by not doing what we should do in our own country, by not improving our education standard and not improving the quality that is available to our undergraduates and even those who are doing, the postgraduate degree. Thank you so much for these very analytical responses, guys. You've really added so much value to our discussion, so many things to learn, and so many insights have been shared. Now we go to the final question that we are considering tonight. And that question is, what are the actions we can take, either as individuals, as communities, or as a nation, to end ASUU strikes and then to advance our tertiary education system? And please, when you are advancing your solutions, your ideas, also look at what could be the possible drawback or trade-off that if we do this, then that means we'll probably be forfeiting this. So please, that's the top question, the final question we are going to be discussing today. What are the actions we can take as individuals, as communities, as a nation to end ASUU strikes, or even industrial actions across our education system, and then to advance the tertiary education system in our country? And what are the potential drawbacks for each of those actions? Whoever has, Aisha, please, you have the mic. Please go ahead and share your insight with us. Aisha, please.
Good evening once again, everyone. It's been a very thoughtful one so far. So in my own opinion, as much as, should I say, as long as we keep, these schools are still being, majority of these schools, let me put it that way, are still being managed, as long as the affairs are still being managed by government authorities, we really won't have a headway about the system of education in Nigeria. I feel like this is beyond saying let's formulate policies, let's say the government should do this. As individuals, a change starts with us on how we are able to contribute our quota to education system. Now, if possible, I don't know how possible this is. Honestly, if educators, people who are academically inclined, are managing our institutions beyond what government is doing, I feel like there's going to be a positive way. There's going to be a way forward on how to manage the affairs of the school. Now, for private universities, to an extent, I've not really seen any difference in the level of education, or should I say the contribution that private universities have to the educational system of Nigeria. Why do I say so? Just like the scenario that somebody just mentioned now, I don't know whether that's a private or a public university, but the truth is, some people pay their way through these schools. Some people are just there because they want their 4 years to be 4 years, but not because they are really there to learn or they are gaining something tangible other than buy certificates. So we really need to do our own quota, contribute our own quota to how we can see how we can manage affairs of schools beyond what the government is doing. So if we don't come together as academic individuals, we really can't rely on the government anymore. Thank you.
You are saying that private as individuals should be much more involved in the funding of the universities. Is that what you're telling us? What are the potential drawbacks to that? Can a private or private entities actually, can they sufficiently fund our education system? Aisha.
Okay, yes. Now we have vice chancellors who are supposed to be who are supposed to be managing the affairs of these schools. But to a large extent, majority of them are still at the beck and call of the government. Some of them will just squander money without being able to account for it. But if these same vice chancellors and some other academic leaders can act as a check and balance on each other without relying on the government, I feel we would have a headway.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Aisha, for that very lucid perspective to, solution, way forward. I will quickly hear from Bobby. Bobby, over to you, please. Thank you, Aisha, for for your brilliant suggestion. Bobby, you have the mic. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you once more.
Thank you.
I think when I was making my contribution earlier on, I said some things that as individuals, as a community, and as a people, we can pressure our leaders. We can pressure them, to take positive action. And I think in one of the UN, I think it's in the UN Charter that education is one of the fundamental human rights of citizens in the country. So it's necessary. It's a compulsory thing for the government to do for its citizens, to make sure that its citizens are educated. So the bulk of the work, not as much as teachers, yes, we have responsibilities too. The bulk of the work is in the corridors of our leaders. So we as individuals, as communities, we can insist, we can use the media, we can use pressure group, attend plenary sessions in our state houses of assembly, attend plenary sessions over there in Abuja, or set up what do you call them now? Pressure groups. Let's set up pressure groups, fund them and then network. There should be networking between student unions and labor unions too. Because in the long run, the students will graduate from these universities, get employment, and the struggle continues. So why not begin now? Why not begin now? So I think we as a community have a lot of work to do. We can come together as parents, as students, as anytime the labor union or ASUU is going out for a protest, for instance, we can give our support. If the concerns they are raising are genuine, we can give our support. So some of the potential drawbacks.
If we take this action, what would be the drawback? What would be the disadvantages of us getting involved in this ASUU struggle? What do you think we'll stand to lose by doing that?
Yes, some of the potential drawbacks I see is we all know the peculiar problem in Nigeria. If the president is from the north and probably ASUU chairman is from the south and he's going on strike, people will say, the people in the north will say, no, it's because it's my person that is in power. That's why they want to spoil his regime. So you see, the citizenry itself, has been, there's this division that the political class have brought into the citizenry. There's a divide and rule system so these are some of the potential drawbacks. And it's not just in education, even in economic, in political spheres, you see when a section of the society is protesting against people that are from the same religious or ethnic background with the leader, will stand and defend it. So I think these are some of the potential drawbacks. And except we rise above our prejudices and ethnic bigotry, we will not get it. We'll keep moving in circles. Yeah, thank you.
Also very analytical way of looking at this. We'll take Mrs. Olabuke, please. Over to you. You have the mic. Then after that, we hear from Amos.
Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
I think the way forward, according to what I've highlighted here, is that the solution really is our collective responsibility. Every stakeholder has something to give or sacrifice to make ASUU Strike to be productive. In as much as we do not pray for more of ASUU strike, but we won't deceive ourselves that this climb, we are not ripe enough yet. Not until we are ripe enough, then we can say it will become a thing of the past. But if we continue the way we are, we are still looking forward to more of it. So what's the way forward? As I've said, it should be a collective responsibility. Starting with the students who are in school, they should know and put to good use the knowledge they are garnering in the university. They are being trained to be useful individual who could stand on their own. So not until they start putting all these values into practice, that is, and learn from the present, not to repeat the mistakes of their elders. As students, what have I learned? How do I make a change? What will be my own quota to turn around things when I get to the labor market and I become a man or a woman of my own? So we should begin to have a reorientation of the proper mindset towards the accurate values. All of this boils down to the erosion of our norms and values that had made materialism the overall dictator of our actions. So on the part of the students, they should learn to contribute their own quota. And even as students, just like the last speaker has said, they should learn to pressure the leaders. I could remember in those days, the NANS, Nigerian Association, or I think National Association of Nigerian Students, they are very powerful and a force to be reckoned with then in the 70s and in the 80s up to the early 90s. When you hear government, they don't joke. I don't think government joked with them then. They have they had a very strong voice then. I don't know how they lost it and they become so watered down now. We hardly even hear of NANS now. And I could remember that NANS had produced quality labor leaders then. But now, it had become a thing of the past. So our students should open their eyes to the powers they have as students, as youths, and utilize that power. Though the drawback to that is, as we witnessed in the Lekki, wherever, police brutality, power of the government. So that may be giving this generation of Indomie children to make them really live towards that. But I still believe if they learn in their voice, they will still be listening to. Then on the part of ASUU, much rest on ASUU. Yes, they continue to fight and raise their voice, needing more infrastructure, good working condition. But then, what had been the effect of these incessant strikes? Having negotiated, coming back, what have you got to show? And internally generated revenue, how are they being managed? At each point in time of your fight, whatever little had been released, how well had it been managed? So you can see that this is still boiling down to the fact that our values are lost. So it begins to give one the vibes that everybody will only fight for what they can personally gain. In as much as even the little that are being pumped, that are being dropped, are not reflecting. I can say of UI, one of the university that generates so much revenue in this country is UI. From postgraduate school alone, the money being generated there, I can say boldly, could run UI effectively without the involvement of the government. UI has that power. You can't imagine the enormous foreign grants and funding. When you begin to hear of this, I have many lecturer friends. I work around UI, so I'm well aware of so many things going on. I may not have in-depth knowledge, but even at the peripheral, you begin to wonder, where are these funds running to? The only thing we can say is that, thank God, our lecturers are now living fine. They are now writing tips. They are no longer wretched. It's good for them. But then, it shouldn't be all about their welfareism. At least they should fight for that structure that made them. So, and on part of the parents, we have a lot. In fact, majority of this problem could be traced down back to parents and the home front. Are we not the polity electing politicians that become the government that is wielding so huge power over us? Are we not the same people that will collect 1,000 naira to sell away the future of our children for another 4 years? Until these basic issues are addressed, until the average parent, the average man or woman in the society decided to become a man or woman of integrity, unwavering integrity, not running after immediate gratification. That's the root cause of our problem. Until this mindset is changed and we imbibe the right sense of value, core values, that is when we start to get them right. Of course, the drawback of all of this is that nobody wants to die in penury. Your mates are making needs. Please, it's not by grammar. It's not by this. What have you got to show for your grammar, for your this, for your that? And that is the bane. That's it. May God help us. It's pathetic.
Thank you so much, Aja, for those very brilliant. I mean, Lord Father, you actually even, because not just talking to parents, also the students, and then also we as stakeholders, even the ASUU themselves, and then the university management, what are the things they can do? Each entity can contribute as solution to this malaise that has come to define our national identity. Amos, we'll hear from you, and then we'll also hear from Chukuma as we start to round off and listen to our takers for all the insights that we're able to curate as we talk. Amos, you have the mic.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Let me start from leadership. The last speaker touched part of what I want to say. Leadership in Nigeria. Everything boxed up on the table for our leaders. So, and
last week, I was party. Program.
Can we help us to meet that person? Yeah, please continue.
Okay, thank you, sir. We're talking about the
online program,
our recruitment process as individuals. I think you shun religion and tribal politics. Who are the people electing as our leaders? Are they competent? What about the merits? Do they merit the position we are electing them for? It's not because this person is a Christian or is a Muslim, is a Yoruba, is an Hausa person. That's why I'm voting for this person. So in as much as we let those who are not competent to be there, all of us get the brunt at the end of the day. So our recruitment process, I think we need to do something about that. Two, as a nation, I think there should be increase in budgetary allocation to our education sector. So that appointment of minister, as I said earlier on, the person that we appointed as Minister of Education should be competent enough to be somebody who merits that position, not just anyhow person. And because he's from my side, he's from my religion. Somebody said something at that time. The immediate past Minister of Education said he knew he failed as a minister. If a minister could confirm himself that he failed as a minister, what do you expect in the education sector? That means he was competent enough. That means he don't even merit that position or that appointment given to him because he knew nothing about education sector and he confirmed that he failed. But when he knew that he was not doing right, he didn't resign. It's like resign, oh, Mr. President, I'm not competent enough. Put another person there. Let the person continue further and going to stop. But he stayed till the end when he confessed that he knew he failed. I mean, the competency was not there. He didn't merit that position. So when giving appointments, we should look at meritocracy. We should look at competency, not just nepotism, because we are from the same person. Then, on the part of ASUU, people have been saying it, accountability. The one they've been given to them, their IGR, how have they been spending those allocations given to them? So are they really spending it judiciously or anyhow? Then the last point I have here is the issue of corruption. I watched a video sometime last year when one rector from one polytechnic said they spent 45 million or something to conduct examination for people. How many staff members were there that they spent 45 million or so? And the senator was asking, how much are you generating per year that you are spending 5 million naira just to conduct examination? So corruption too, we need to look at it. It's everywhere, every segment, every sector, everywhere you go to, you see corruption. Until we tackle this issue of corruption in Nigeria, I think we still have some problems in the educational sector. Thank you, sir.
What are the drawbacks? All these actions you've suggested to us, very brilliant and very pungent. What are the drawbacks? If we do this, what do we stand to lose? What are the potential difficulties in following through some of those actions? You want to be shed light on those?
Okay, thank you, sir. I think one of the hindrance to recruitment process, as somebody said earlier on, is poverty. Somebody said it in the last week, I think. People are poor. When you give them 1,000, one small cup of rice, they take and vote for you because the politicians play on that intelligence. But they know they don't have. Once you give them 1,000, 2,000, when they're supposed to spend the money on infrastructure, they will not do that. They will wait until election time and start sharing 1,000, 2,000 for you to vote for them. So poverty is one of the hindrances that we prevent people from voting for the right person. And we have wrong person in position. One of the things we see bad leadership, this issue of ASUU strike that we are experiencing. So they are giving us anything they want to give us. So one of the things is the poverty is one of the hindrances to that. Until that one is addressed before we can be talking of people voting for the right person or the quality people or competent people to be in position. So the drawback, another one is the things that our leaders are giving unto us. So there are things that they are not just good enough that can bring about positive development in our educational sector. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Amos. We hear from Chukuma, and then I think from Magia, and then we listen to our. Thank you.
All right, thank you once again. The first thing I have to say here, sir, is personally, I think since we are talking about education, ASUU strike and so on and so forth, there are borders on education. First thing is, as an individual, what I think I can do and what I will encourage us to do is to reiterate that there is value in education. Wherever we go, in a generation where education is seen as a scam, we should stand for the fact that education has value. What is the drawback to that? The drawback to that is that we will be like a lone voice crying in the wilderness. A lot of people actually don't think like that. They will tell their children, do it like this. So one's voice can be lost in the multitude of other voices. That is the first thing I think I can do as an individual to actually continue to contribute my own quota. The second thing that comes to mind is, let us look at the JAM example. Professor Loyede has been pioneering the affairs of JAM for a number of years now. And over the number of years, he has been able to prove that as a CEO or as a leader in Nigeria, that it is not necessary that you actually get into government employment and embezzle money just like that, that you can be accountable and that these organizations can actually bring something back to the government. So we should look at that model and probably use it actually for schools in Nigeria, where the leaders will have to be accountable, where the officials will have to be accountable. If you're asking our government to be accountable, I think university systems should also be accountable. The drawback to that is that corruption is endemic. That would be like fighting a hydra-headed monster. We know how it is in Nigeria. Corruption is so endemic that you will see people that will say, no, JAM, we don't know how he's doing it, blah, blah, blah. But the facts and figures are there to support that this man has done a good job. We should actually look at that model and see. Actually, we don't even need to go out of the country to actually look at models that can be followed. Another point that comes to mind is that the government should be able to encourage a bill that will insist that all government officials, all of them, from the president to the councillor in the wards, should actually school in Nigeria. Nobody should go outside the country again. Everybody should school in Nigeria. Whether you are the son of a senator or you are not, whoever you are, all of us should school in Nigeria. But the drawback to that is that the national assemblies will actually shoot down that kind of a bill. That bill may not pass first reading. Permit me to say, but the people will not allow such a bill to see the light of the day. Finally, sir, economic emancipation of all of the populace, I think, is germane to actually seeing to it that ASUU Strike actually comes to an end. If we are empowered economically, it will go a long way to, as long as ASUU members are empowered, they won't be looking at government officials as rivals. There won't be anger in them that, how can I actually be doing this? And look at this government official who doesn't even have a first degree earning this much. So if we are all emancipated, seriously speaking, but that's for now. I don't know whether that is possible in the next 50 years. I'm not being pessimistic, but it's a tall order. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much for that very brilliant analysis. And I know that the way you highlighted each potential action and then the drawbacks attached to them. Thank you so much for that very analytical one. We'll hear from Mrs. Olabuke once again. I think, Abraham, you raised your hand earlier. I don't know if you still want to talk before we hear from our note takers. Mr. Olabuke, you have the floor. Please go ahead. And oh, sorry, I think we lost that to network. Abraham, you want to say something earlier? Okay, please.
Right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I just want to say that it's been very, very insightful listening to everyone talk so far. So I just want to briefly say some things. So first thing first, I think from a student point of view, yes, ASUU has actually done a lot. Like the strike itself has done a lot. For instance, I and a colleague of mine presently here in this meeting, we're supposed to have a duration of study for 6 years. But I think if by God's grace we graduate without any more ASUU strike, I think we'll have spent 8 years. I just want to state that first. And then there were some solutions that someone preferred, like initially, and someone said something like of how other union bodies could actually help with ASUU, like they could coalesce with ASUU to actually make things work. And I think there was a mention of the student union body and all. I just want to mention that there have been situations where the student union body, okay, let me just specify and say, for instance, in UI, like the voice of the student union body has actually been, just trampled on like a lot. So I think around I don't remember what year it was, but I think 2017 when I entered, there was an issue with the student union president then that led to him being suspended for I think 2 sessions and all that. So
Wow.
moving down the line, I think when the entire student union body got resurrected back, because I think even that was even not just the president was suspended then, the entire body was suspended. I think it was maybe just should I say 2 tenure ago or so. Now, Fumi, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you're listening to me right now. Sorry, that's my classmate. Just wanted to know. So I think after everything, after the body got resurrected and all, I just feel like the student union body got to this complacent level where they just take things as it is. They don't even have a voice of their own. So I'm just saying this in respect to someone who actually preferred the solution of the students can actually help and everything. I feel like a lot of students even want to do that kind of thing on behalf of their parents who are lecturers or of the academic body and all that stuff. But there is a limit to how much we can say, how much we can do. Even in classes, I think we are even forced to just swallow like things like as they are just being given to us. I remember at the start of this session now, we had a talk with a person. I don't want to specify maybe so I don't get in trouble or something. We had a talk with someone who is of importance to us as undergraduates, and he was trying to encourage us, and then he said something line of, you know what, guys, I feel like 600 level is a time of huge importance to you, and you guys should just like try to accept whatever it is like any lecturer brings to you. Just take it with patience. You got your final lap already, so just trying to like just take everything as it comes and all that stuff. And in my mind, it got me thinking that sorry, you're not even trying um to push us to actually fight for what is right or anything. Like, so if we have something to say, we should just swallow it and just take whatever lecturers throw at us and all that stuff. So that's just like to show a very much more smaller example. But in terms of the student union body too, I feel like we don't really have a very good voice as we normally as we did in the past, so to speak. And then I was going to say something too, but I probably should have written on my points down. But I think so far that's just what I wanted to say. I think yes, I think the NLC too. They were trying to coalesce with ASUU at some point in time, like maybe a few months back or so. And I remember that like I was overhearing some lecturers saying something like, when they wanted to go on strike, NLC didn't really do much then. And so now the NLC is trying to maybe go on the strike, so why should they? So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of problems like everywhere. Like there's a lot of problems. And also this is the last thing I want to say. From a student's point of view, like last year now we had about some people say 8 months of strike. I think personally I like saying 9 months, because I think we kind of had ended classes like a month before you officially started counting. So about 9 months of strike, and till today, I don't think my classmates and I have recovered. I think 500 level guys, also 400 level guys in my faculty, I don't think we've recovered. I think people are already having this mindset of when they're done with school, they just want to start making money now. And I don't know if the condition of Nigeria has actually affected us, thinking in that direction, because no one actually even, a lot of people don't want to like pursue that entire line of academics, down to the end. I've been talking to my classmates recently now, and I'm asking, how far, guys, when you're done, does anyone want to go for masters? And people are like, masters, that one is on a long thing, it's to make money now. Some people are even like presently carrying jobs, side by side classes. So final year is even like people are just doing it half baked. Like it's not, people are not even paying a lot of attention into that. So I just want to say that so that like everyone else who is not presently a student or who is not presently an undergraduate actually has a peek into the mind of the students, that like they are tired or they are just exhausted. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very poignant, I would say, those poignant analysis in terms of talking from a student perspective. And I think Amos mentioned it earlier. By the time they came back from this strike, forgetting what they thought. 8 months, what do you expect them to be doing? And they came back, and then those are the graduates they shook out of our university system, society, supposed to be solution providers. people that, along the line, imagine baking a bread and you're removing the bread from the oven at intervals end of at the end of the day. And, I think, thank you so much for that. We listen to Ms. Olaguke and then we take Aisha before we hear from our note takers.
Thank you once again. I take it from the last speaker's angle as a student. Yeah. I must reiterate strongly here that there is a power that students at youth of today hold that they are not wielding or they are not making a better use of. And that is the power of the social media.
Okay.
If you are afraid of personal confrontation with powers that be, of them bringing you down or bullying you, you have that tool to expose them to the world. You can go with caricature, mini skits, instead of all these frivolities on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, all this. Let the society, let the world see. You can get brief videos, short clips as evidences to show that this is what is going on. Let the world know that when ASUU is fighting for infrastructures, you as students, to support them, go around the school. There's a way of doing it. The power of the social media is so vast now. You may not even appear. Your voice may be voiced over, not your actual voice, so that you will not be easily nabbed. Ghana fact, drag them on social media. That's your power as youth. Let the world see that this is what is on ground. When ASUU says this and the government says that, you as the recipient, direct recipient, you're on ground to really validate who is lying amongst the federal government or this. Once you lend in your voice, we get a clearer picture. So the youth, the students have a lot to do in this year and age if we are to have a realistic fight that would yield fruits. Then I'll still boil everything down to the fact that we as a whole, as a society, we need a proper reorientation and the re-engineering of ourselves and minds towards imbibing the core values of humanity above every other thing else. The core value of patience, the core value of joy in hard labor, hard work, over immediate gratification. This will beat corruption anytime, any day. We were there once. The likes of Pawolowo that left those legacies, it's not as if they were saints, but they had imbibed that core value that leveraged and balanced their greed, pari passu, service to humanity. So we need to retrace our steps back to revamping those core values in each and every one of us to beat corruption at all levels. And then and only then can we begin to have quality fight, a result-yielding fight between anybody, not only us this time around, even the labor. I'm a teacher in the secondary school now. We were supposed to have gone on strike for non-implementation of subsidy palliatives up till now. Not in my state, nothing has been given to workers. In fact, my governor had become so obstinate, he's not even attending meetings. But the only thing we hear is labor leaders meeting the government. Before meeting, they will be ranting, shouting, bringing, storms and brainstorms, only for them to come from the party and wind down. And of course, once that is happening, something has gone down, or something has power has exchanged hands, as they say. So that is just it. And that is the appalling truth. Not until we work on ourselves can we, and let each and everybody, each of the stakeholders, identify their powers and how to wield these powers towards a common goal of quality education in Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that idea. I think sort of still put it at our doorstep. These are things we need to do. I mean, youth, they have, I mean, the students, populace, they have their own role to play as well. And it's a very important one. Even doing their fact finding between either the lecturers themselves or even the government or even the school management, what are the issues? And they also now coming to town with the findings to put pressure on those that need to do something so that they know, okay, well, if it's also that it's at fault, let them see, let them be like the searchlight that beams the light on where the darkness is, and then we can get the redress we want. Finally, we hear from Aisha before we start to round off our session for today. It's been such an enlightening discussion we've had this afternoon, this evening, and I've learned so much from all we've said. Aisha, please, you have the mic, and then we hear from our notables.
The way I actually put the whole thing.
In addition to what everyone has said, looking at the aspect of improving the quality of tertiary education, we need to look at the courses that are even being offered in these schools. It is very glaring that with the way technology is advancing now, we need to incorporate some courses into the curriculum, or how do I put it? Should I call it curriculum now for universities? Some of these courses that students go to school to read are not to study. When they graduate, they start looking for jobs here and there, and then before you know it, they are venturing into something else that they are never interested in.
Company you work for and what you do, so that even if
Hello?
Please continue.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes,
and then looking at the cut-off marks with JAMB and all that, it's very unfortunate that the quality of education, looking at JAMB scores, has also dropped. Now, before we know that cut-off used to be around 180, 200, but what is obtainable today?
The angle.
So all these things have to be put into consideration as well. And then the quality of lecturers as well. Some of these are lecturers are supposed to have retired and should just be resting because they are just there going to class to go and talk about things. They're not even current. They don't even know what's happening in the society. So the quality of lecturers also needs to be looked into. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aisha, for that. I think we will just hear from our note takers now as we round off this session. Bid, over to you. Thank you. Please, let's see some of the concerns that our note takers are taking.
Is this big enough? Or should I make it bigger?
It is.
All right, so I'll go from the first question, personal experiences. So just going to try and run through the key points. So have your program is extended by years. Was a welcome development for someone like me, but takes a huge chunk of the productive years of most people. Vice Chancellor was big on us not joining the strike. By the time we resumed, we'd forgotten what we learned. It's giving us jitters as parents. We send our parents, this should be students, I suppose. We send our students to universities without strikes. This is talking about sending, looking for the best universities or the universities who don't actually join the strikes. Students on strike consume a lot of food, at home doing nothing. Prevents the smooth sale of young people's future careers. We've not recovered. I think this is probably the second lot. I think Abraham talked about how some students are yet to recover from some of the strike issues. And then the second question, personal concerns about strikes. It says, now I'm a lecturer, I understand what ASUU are fighting for. Speaking to how, as a student, didn't really get the perspective, but as a lecturer, he understands it more.
Lecturers have children/wards in these universities too. And I think this actually gives a lot of insight, because if their children are going to these universities as well, do they really want to, or are they really against students so much? For instance, in comparison to most public officials or most government politicians who don't actually have any of their children in these universities. One of the things they're fighting for is poor remuneration. You put in the job and read hard, but you're given a stipend for your hard work. Publishing is compulsory as an academic, and it requires funding. The primary fight is for adequate facilities. Hostels are an eyesore. ASUU wants to make the system better. Politicians with questionable certificates are amassing wealth. We should harass our government representatives when strikes are called. Pressure our politicians. Our leaders are insensitive. Our Ministry of Education confessed he knew nothing about education. Brain drain was also mentioned as an issue. Our public university rankings are dropping. These issues have consequences. How have ASUU managed the funds they have? They must be accountable. I think this is when the perspective changed as well. Also, mentioning ASUU as not entirely as complicit as well. Students concerned with time, ASUU concerned with remuneration and facilities, parents concerned with success of their children, talking about individual concern, individual perspectives. And then this here, academics is not automatic key to success. Leaders are not educated. Quality hands should engage in Nigerian politics, a bit similar to the minister who knew nothing about education, but he was the Minister of Education for several years. And Nigerian society is materialistic. Are the strikes yielding results? University system not working is a disservice to ourselves. Students spend money abroad that would have been retained in the country. I think talking about Australia and how a lot of these universities out there actually task foreign students. And I think Nigerian students obviously make up the population of most universities in the world. There are over 200 million people in Nigeria, and I think we're the 5th most populous country in the world. I think after India also probably have the most foreign students in the world. So a lot of our students actually spend the money that could have been retained in our country there. Change starts with us. Okay, sorry, this is talking to the third question, actions, suggestions, and their drawbacks. Someone said, change starts with us. University administrators should check and balance one another, right? Balance one another. Academics managing the country can improve the system. People buy certificates in private universities. We can pressure our leaders. It's coming up again. Networking between students and labor unions to support the strikes. But ethnic-based support for political leaders. Yeah, so this is saying that students and labor unions, students should take active part. Labor unions, everybody should support the strikes, and not just the lecturers or not just ASUU themselves. So we can all together pressure the government. But then ethnic-based support for political leaders is actually a very key issue in Nigeria. Students should put the knowledge they are gaining from universities to good use. Our norms and values are eroded. Materialism is dictator of our actions. This is also a very, very crucial point in Nigeria. And I think this is the second time it's coming up as well. NANS had a strong voice in the past. Students, utilize your power. This is a bit similar to the call for students and labor unions to support the strikes. NANS, of course, is the National Association of Nigerian Students. Had a strong voice in the past, but they're getting weak now. Students should utilize their power and try and pressure the government into taking popular action. But power of government to use brutality, and I think this is the point where the example of 2020 the attack on the public in Lagos. Everybody fighting for what they can personally gain. We need more selflessness. But your mates are making it, so why die in poverty? How are the available funds used? Speaking to IGR. Parents are the polity. We vote wrong leaders from bribes. You know, in essence, we vote wrong leaders due to bribes. We take money. You know, somebody says, "Oh, I know they're giving me this money, and I need the money," and then they just vote. And then later on, they complain that the government aren't doing well, and they complain that their students, that their children are out of school. But people are poor, so you know, people need these or people want these material resources, even if they're nothing. People still want them anyway, and I think this is also about materialism as well. Nigerian society is so based on materialism. We vote based on ethnicity rather than merit. This is a very crucial point. Ethnicity, or probably even stronger than religion in Nigeria, I might say. Increase budgetary allocation. And I think one of the points that we mentioned in the beginning was that Nigeria actually has one of the lowest budgetary allocations for education, even in Africa, even among other African countries. Ministers are incompetent. So yes, I think this is also a reference to ministers, political appointments, people who know nothing about the portfolio, getting the portfolio. Tackle corruption, it's everywhere. Reiterate that there is, although tackle corruption might actually just be a generic suggestion rather than having maybe specific actions that can actually tackle corruption, because there are so many ways that it could potentially be tackled. Reiterate that there's value in education wherever you go. Education is not a scam. All government officials' wards should school in Nigeria. Talking about legislating on academics, and I think it's actually a very simple thing. If you want to hold public office, then there's a recommendation that your children should be going to universities in the country. And if you don't want your children to go to universities in the country, then don't seek public office. I think it's actually a very straightforward suggestion. But of course, the drawback is that the National Assembly will never let that kind of thing happen. Economic emancipation is germane, but it's a tall order. Student unions get trampled, a bit similar to the idea of government taking action against popular demonstrations. Students should use social media for activism rather than dance on TikTok. Return to our core values. This is essentially also speaking against materialism and the current Nigerian mantra of money, of wealth, and all sorts. A return to our core values. Students looking for jobs after university. We should incorporate technology courses that are actually relevant in the modern age, rather than try and teach students things that were probably introduced to curriculums in the 1950s. So these are essentially the concerns that we've gathered so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bid, for that very detailed notes that you've helped us to take from our deliberations this afternoon. Does anybody have anything else to add to what our note takers have graciously helped us to take? Does anybody feel that their views or their concerns were not noted or were not documented? Please, if you have such, please, let's hear you now. We have like how many? 2 minutes, so we can round off. Anybody feel that their concerns were not reflected, the points were not reflected? Okay, thank you so much. That means, our note takers have done a very fantastic job helping us to take note of all the issues, all the concerns, all the action points, and the corresponding drawbacks to them. And I want to say thank you to every one of you for making this deliberation this today. You guys have really, the body of insight that we've shared, it's amazing. Many things that like myself, I've learned quite a lot about the issues affecting the education system in Nigeria as far as the tertiary institutions are concerned. And I've learned quite a lot, and I'm sure the same experiences for all of us. We've learned from one another, learned from your beautiful analysis and your solutions to some of the things that we can do to correct this ill. As I said, this is just for us to gather the concerns. We'll be having a follow-up deliberation in January, where we'll be having ASUU officials, government officials, and parents, as well as other key stakeholders and even students, some of you students coming to talk to this issue. And then that is when we'll be talking really in terms of how do we, all these concerns we've expressed today, how do we articulate them into policy actions that can be adopted by the government towards even both government, university authorities, and even ASUU, and even parents? What can we do collectively or individually to ensure that ASUU Strike becomes a non-existent entity in our country, and then our education system start to move forward and start to produce the kind of quality that we desire them to be. So thank you once again, everyone. Do have a wonderful and a restful weekend. We have LRF ready to go. Hoping to see all of you there where we listen to our author for the month, will be coming to share or read to us from his poetic collection. We'll look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for that event as well. So from here, thank you and have a wonderful evening. Bye.